still exists here, but it's different. Boulder has changed. Pearl Street has changed. And, you know, there's things, I see stuff all the time and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
You know, now there's like security guards in front of the bathrooms so people don't smoke meth in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
You know, that's the truth. It's out there. Things, it's dirtier than it used to be. It's not as safe as it used to be, but you don't expect to see it at that level.
Yeah. Andrew, did you right? What? Go. No. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You can edit this stuff out. Like, you don't have to talk about meth on.
Did you?
But still exists.
I've been reporting about this over on X, so go follow me over there if you haven't already. But just in case you haven't heard, earlier today there was some sort of an attack at the Pearl Street Mall in Boulder, Colorado. Apparently there was like some sort of event honoring the hostages of Hamas, the Israeli hostages, or something along those lines. And a lot of Jewish people were showing up to this event. And then a pro-Palestine supporter showed up with Molotov cocktails and started setting people on fire. A very crazy situation. I cannot show the videos here for obvious reasons, but I have posted the videos and photos over on X. You could go check those out if you have not already. But I'm not here today to talk about the conflict between Israel and Hamas or Palestine or whatever you want to call it. To be honest, I'm getting tired of hearing all of the conversations about this conflict. I wish that just for once in my lifetime, America and Americans could be put first. At least here in America. But you see, the entirety of my life, it maybe has not been this way for all of you all because some of you all are older than me. But for my entire time on planet Earth, here in America, it has often seemed as if we put other countries first. It just so often feels like we are constantly meddling in everyone else's business instead of handling our own business. We're always solving other people's problems instead of solving our own. So if you want to know how I really feel about this conflict, the reality is I don't want to even care about it at all. I am more concerned about all of the issues here in America now. I understand the conversations and arguments on both sides. I understand that it seems like, you know, Israel has a certain power over America. I get all of that stuff, folks. But what I'm really here to talk about today is how nostalgic I feel for the America I grew up in. I don't know about you all, but I miss the America I grew up in. And the America I grew up in wasn't as good as the America that a lot of you all grew up in. But I grew up in the 90s. And I remember the mall used to be a sacred place when I was growing up. Never in a million years did I ever fathom or even imagine something bad happening at the mall. No, it was a magical place filled with wonders. No one was sad or angry at the mall. It was the happiest place to be. Do you guys remember the Great American Shopping Mall? It doesn't really matter where you're from. If you lived during a certain period here in America, you got to experience how awesome it was. You know, if you were a teenager during those years, you could hang out at the mall. A lot of you probably have fond memories of going to the mall with your parents or your grandparents, or maybe even taking your kids to the mall for a photo with the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus. When I was growing up, we used to have a store called KB Toys. Do you guys remember KB Toys? And you see, back in the day, action figures, at least when I was growing up, they were cheaper than they are now, right? So I would go into KB Toys with $5 or $6, and I would be able to buy at least one, sometimes two X-Men, Spider-Man, or Spider-Man action figures. I was big on Marvel. I liked DC and Batman and Superman too. But me and my brother, we had a massive collection of the old Toy Biz. That was the company that made them. Toy Biz Marvel action figures. I would go to the mall without a worry in the world, without a care in the world. There would be no fighting. There would be no groups of hoodlums. No one even thought of the possibility of shots ringing out in the mall and people getting robbed and stabbed in the mall. There was no such thing. None of that happened. Not only did it not happen, it was not a worry. It was not something that people even thought about. I would walk into the mall without a care in the world. Me and my brother, we would buy a couple of $4 action figures. Then we would go get a pretzel from Auntie Annie's or whatever the pretzel place is called. Maybe get a pack of Pokemon cards or Dragon Ball Z or something like that. And you would just have a pleasurable experience. Or at the very least, you would have an experience where you were not worried about random acts of violence and random crazy stuff happening. But you see, kids these days, they have it easier than us in certain ways for sure. But they got it harder than us as well. You see, when I was a kid, I never had to worry about someone standing outside the mall, throwing Molotov cocktails at me because they're upset about some nonsense going on in the world. When I was a kid growing up here in America, when I went to the mall, I never had to worry about someone from a foreign country that has no business being here hurling homemade Molotov cocktails at me and my family as we tried to go buy X-Men action figures. But in today's world, that's what kids are experiencing. Kids today in Boulder, Colorado, had Molotov cocktails thrown at them by someone who does not even speak English at the Pearl Street Mall. Now, like I said, it doesn't matter where you land on the Israel-Palestine conflict. I don't even care. Like I said, I'm exhausted when it comes to the conversations and the debates surrounding this conflict. What I don't want is this conflict spilling over into America. I don't want kids here in America worried about having Molotov cocktails thrown at them by foreign invaders, if you will, over situations that are happening in the Middle East. Yet here we are, folks. Here we are. In a very different America than I grew up in. A very different America than when you grew up. And people just act as if it's nothing, as if they don't remember how things used to be just 15 years ago. And that's why when I saw the clip that you saw at the beginning of this video, when I saw that clip, it made me say, you know what, I want to sit down and talk about this. Because right there, in the clip at the beginning of this video, he talks about how things have changed where he lives in Boulder, Colorado. You used to not have security guards standing at the bathroom because people are smoking meth in the bathroom, yet here we are. Our society is decaying all around us. And I kid you not, you could look at the Great American Shopping Mall. It is perfect evidence of how far we have fallen in just a few short years. Malls are barren wastelands now in most places. And everyone says, oh, it's because of online shopping. People just like to online shop now. And yeah, people like to online shop, but there are plenty of people that like to buy things in person. The reason why these malls are barren wastelands, it's not necessarily because, oh, I can go on Amazon and shop. No, it's largely because people don't want to get thrown or hit with Molotov cocktails while going to Baby Gap. Maybe you want to take your grandma to the mall and buy her some non-slip shoes at JCPenney's, but you don't feel like getting chased by violent immigrants with machetes. Maybe you and your girlfriend want to go to the food court and eat Saburos or whatever the pizza place is without having to worry about 50 people getting into a massive brawl in the food court and shooting at each other. So when you look at these malls and how empty they are, understand that a lot of it is not because of online shopping. That's what they want you to believe. A lot of it is because people are afraid to go to these type of places anymore. And when you look at what happened today, you understand why. And I wish that we could get America back on track. I don't want to be black-pilled. I want to still have some hope that maybe one day America will look at least somewhat how it looked when I was growing up. But we're moving further and further away from that every day. And I feel like so many people are like glued to their phones. They're just preoccupied with everything else, and they're not taking the time to just look up and look around them and see, whoa, boy, has my town changed. Look at how my city has changed. Look at how my community has changed. As I've had my head down in my phone trying to ignore these problems, look at where we're at now. No one in America is raising their kids in the same town they grew up in, because the towns you grew up in aren't even recognizable anymore. And there are ways that we could prevent this from happening. There are ways that we could go back to a safer America, but that would require people actually giving a damn. And most people don't. Now, to be clear here, before anyone gets their panties up in a bunch, I'm not saying that we should not concern ourselves at all with what's going on abroad. I talk about, different stories happening in different countries. We discuss the various wars going on in the world all the time on this channel. I'm not saying that we shouldn't care at all about what's going on over there. But what I want you all to understand is that I'm a product of the 90s. I'm a 90s baby. So I speak from a place of frustration. Because for my entire life, I have watched the American dream slip further and further away from my grasp. And when I say my grasp, I don't mean me personally. I mean everyone my age and younger. We are watching the American dream that my parents were able to live, that my grandparents were able to live, that a lot of you all watching this video, you were able to live. We, in my generation and younger, we're watching that dream slip away. And for the entirety of my life, I've watched America level and then rebuild other countries. I've watched America send so much foreign aid and support to other countries, trying to stabilize other countries, trying to rebuild other countries from rubble, while totally ignoring the problems right here in our communities here in America. It's crazy watching America for decades rebuild other countries as our country falls apart. It's crazy seeing America try to handle and all of these other problems that all of these other people are going through in various places in the world while not addressing the problems that are happening right here in our own backyard. So I speak from a place of frustration. And I hope that a lot of you all will be able to understand that. And I know a lot of you all have the same frustration that I do. But as far as this Molotov cocktail wielding madman, the police were able to take him in unharmed. I believe he did cause harm to some other people. At the time of this recording, I'm still waiting on more details to come out about that. But when I saw this story, I just immediately, was hit with all of this nostalgia and thinking about pleasant memories from when I would go to the mall as a kid. And then I saw that guy on the news from the clip at the beginning of this video talking about how things have gone downhill. And I was like, you know what? This is a conversation that I would like to have really quickly with you all. So be sure to carry on that conversation down in the comments below. Let me know some of your fond memories from the mall before our country was invaded by third worlders who destroyed everything. Let me know your great memories about the mall down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this news story as well down in the comments below. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to take your support one step further, you could always donate via Cash App or Super Thanks. I can assure you that money won't be spent at the mall. And with that being said, I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.